Hi, it's Paul from Hench Herbivore with my top 10 vegan fat loss tips. Be sure to stick around until the end for my extra special tip. Tip number 1, work out your rough caloric needs. The best way to do this is with a total daily energy expenditure calculator, or TDEE. If you search for that in the browser, the one will pop up, and then you simply put in your stats. Your sex, age, height, weight, rough body fat percentage. If you don't know this, you can either find out there's different sort of ways of measuring, some more accurate than others. The way I tend to do it is just to compare the client's physique relative to like an online chart, which you can find by searching images, women's or men's body fat percentage chart. At the end, it will also ask for your activity levels. Once you punch in all this data, it'll come up with a rough estimate of how many calories you need to maintain your body weight. To lose weight, then, is simply a matter of getting into a caloric deficit. For most people who haven't got miles and miles and miles to go, the American College of Sports Medicine suggests a half a pound to 1 pound per week weight loss. If you're obese, you can probably double this up to about 2 pounds. If you're morbidly obese, perhaps more like 3 pounds. If you deduct 250 calories from your maintenance, that would give most people around a half a pound a week fat loss, 500 calories, more like 1 pound a week, etc., etc. It's very, very, very important not to overdo the speed of your weight loss, so stick to the recommendations. We'll speak more about this later on in the video. Weigh-ins should be weekly, AM, after the loo and before you eat or drink. This is known as your true weight. If you weigh yourself more than once a week, the scales will start messing with your mind. I've done it myself, honestly, don't do it. Weight will fluctuate up and down a little bit. You're not just weighing muscle and fat, there's like fluids. There's 101 different things you're weighing, and based on your hormonal output, it can vary. But if we do it weekly, then we'll have a good sort of average of how it's actually going. If suddenly, you've got a bit of a stall and you're in a rush, you may be tempted to take out another 500 calories, may be wrong, and it's very easy to mess up. So again, just don't do that. As for the scales themselves, you're better off with a digital set. Get the best set that you can afford to buy. They should have small increments on there, so 0.1 of a kilo, 1/8 of a pound, those sort of increments. Make sure that the scales are calibrated correctly. The instructions will come with the scales. Make sure they're on a hard surface and you put them in the same position each week. In the first week or two, you may get a dramatic loss of weight above what you were hoping to do. This is the only time when that is okay, because you're dropping glycogen stores out of your body. 1 part glycogen holds 3 parts water, so you can see quite a dramatic loss initially. After that, we hope to hit that half pound, again, if you're very obese, maybe 2 or 3 pounds. Hopefully, week 3, week 4, that's exactly what you lose. If that's not the case, you just need to tweak your calories accordingly. It's quite simple. Again, remember, around 250 calories equals around half a pound, and 500 calories equals 1 pound gain or loss. Tip number 3 is to always eat your calories. If you're getting calories in through fluids, you drink them, they're in your stomach for a short time, they empty, and now you feel hungry. Not a good strategy. The more solid food we can eat, the more satiated we're going to feel, for a much longer time. And in terms of health, any calories coming from fluids are not going to have the fibre attached. Therefore, it's going to be bad for our bodies. During my 30 years of working out, I've tried just about every type of diet imaginable, though I was never quite mad enough to go full retard. I mean full carnivore. The easiest and most sustainable weight loss I've ever had is with the high carb, low fat, whole foods, plant-based diet. It is like a cheat code for weight loss. These foods have a lot of mass for little calories. They are mostly water and fibre. The other benefit, according to Harvard University, is that vegetables are 16 times more nutritionally dense than meat. So in that way, you're smashing in tons and tons and tons of micronutrients, which helps to send a signal from your brain to your body to let you know that you're full, that you've hit your micronutrient requirements. You'll see, many obese people smashing in junk food, all day long, never feeling fully satisfied. It's because the brain knows they need more nutrients. So the foods to emphasize are legumes, whole grains, fruits and vegetables, but don't totally avoid healthful fats, things like nuts, seeds and avocado. Ones that I like to emphasize are flax and chia seeds for the omega-3, though these must be ground. Almonds and sunflower seeds are great for vitamin E, and if your selenium's looking a little bit low, one Brazil nut will likely tip you, above your basic needs. Fats should only be a small percentage of your diet. It's very easy to overeat on them. A gram of fat has 9 calories, whereas a gram of protein or carbs just has the 4 calories. For myself, I tend to aim for around 15% of total calories coming from fats. If you're following the above steps and you're still feeling a little bit peckish, simply add in more low-calorie vegetables. Salad greens, celery, cooked greens and the cruciferous vegetables, things like cabbage, cauliflower, kale, bok choy, cabbage. It's very hard to overeat on low-calorie vegetables, and they're so nutritionally dense, so real good tactic. Tip number 5, protein. According to the best available science, it looks as though 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight may be optimal for people trying to retain muscle mass while on a caloric deficit. From my perspective though, I don't think this science is particularly great. It may not apply to the masses. The science was done on well-trained athletes for one. They didn't give body fat percentage, and of course an athlete is likely to be leaner than an untrained individual. Fat is inert tissue, and of course it doesn't need any protein, so much better would have been protein requirements by lean tissue mass. My suggestion, if you are an athlete, particularly if you're a strength trainer, perhaps nearer that 2 grams per kilo recommendation, total body weight, may be worth listening to. For your average person, I really wouldn't pay it any mind. If you're eating whole plant foods, if you're in enough of a deficit but not too much, you're getting those required calories that you need on the low end there, you will be getting adequate protein through your whole foods. I really wouldn't be concerned about adding more in. Tip number 6 is to use the Chronometer app to track your calories and ensure you're hitting all your micronutrient requirements. Chronometer is a free app. It's very easy to use. You just plug your foods in, and as I say, it'll give you like total calories. It'll give you percentage of calories from fat, so you'll know that you're getting that right. And I say it's got all the micronutrients, everything like that you need to know. Tip number 7 is water. Make sure that you're drinking plenty between your meals. I don't drink at mealtime because it dilutes the stomach acid and makes it harder for your body to break the foods down. Drinking water helps with satiation. Sometimes when we think we're hungry, it's actually that we're thirsty. If we're not hydrated, it will affect our energy levels, which already may be a little lower because we're in a caloric deficit. And in addition, a hydrated individual will have 70% of their muscle weight as water. If we're not hydrated, then that percentage is going to go down, and we've not got so much volume, we're not so mechanically strong. Think of a plant, you've not watered it and the stem droops, it's not so strong. Turgidity, that's the word. To make drinking water more enjoyable, add a little twist of lemon or lime juice. Herbal teas are fantastic. My particular favourites are hibiscus tea, green tea, matcha, but any of the herbal teas are going to give you some extra nutrition. Tip number 8 is to add in some resistance, i.e. weight training. There's been a saying in the fitness industry now for many years that weight training is the new dieting. The reason it works so well is that the more muscle we carry, the more calories we burn, even at rest. In terms of health, obviously it strengthens the muscles, has the added benefit of also strengthening bones. Any weight-bearing exercise will do so. So from my perspective, everybody should be doing some resistance training. Okay, we're nearly there now with tip number 9, which is cardio. Everybody should be working their heart and lungs. It puts years in your life and life in your years. It also gives the added benefit that we get to eat more food. Pick an exercise that you enjoy and try to be progressive with it, a little further, a little faster, week by week. As the fat comes off and you become lighter, it gets easier and easier. Some people who didn't really like exercise before can actually fall in love with it, because as a species, we love to see that progress. In terms of how much should you do, For the average person, I say 3 resistance training sessions is great, perhaps 3 cardio as well. It's good to have a day's rest or active recovery, like a gentle walk or swim, something like that. For the advanced athlete, you could consider high intensity interval training. Has the benefit of being very quick to do. The downsides being that it's very uncomfortable to do, really painful. A beginner should never consider interval training. We need to build an aerobic base first before we consider going up into this anaerobic type training. There is a relatively high risk for injury as well, because this exercise is so intense, coupled with the resistance training, maybe a little bit too much for many people. The other way to go is low impact steady state training. This is where you go at a lower intensity, but you increase the time frame. If you were to go to the higher end of the intensity spectrum for this modality, something like jogging, then 20 to 45 minutes would be considered a good workout. If you're going towards the lower end, something like power walking, then 60 to 90 minutes will be more ideal. Tip number 10, before we give you the bonus tip, be consistent. Be prepared for a drop in strength. As I alluded to earlier, as we deplete our glycogen stores at the start of the cut, we'll drop 3 times that in water weight as well. So our muscles are less volumized, they're less mechanically strong. Many strength trainers get put off. They feel like they're losing their gains and they kind of bottle it. The way I combat this is to stop worrying so much about being as strong as possible and focusing on what the goal is. I look in the mirror, lift the old shirt up. Week by week, I'm seeing the abs coming in, deeper and deeper cuts. And again, we like that feeling of progression as a species. As long as I'm progressing somewhere, be it strength, muscle size, fat loss, as long as I'm focusing on that goal, I'll be fine. Be patient. People that are in a rush will never be happy. Excess exercise, under eating, never leads anywhere good. Thyroid function and thus metabolism will drop and you'll end up skinny fat with no place to go. If you find yourself in this position, you need to forget about weight loss for a good while. Concentrate on getting well and nourishing your body. Over time, you'll win your body's trust back, but not if you try to rush it. In my younger years, when I just did bodybuilding from a place of ego, vanity, kind of born from a place of insecurity, never quite got where I wanted to go. I was in such a rush to put muscle and strength on that I would really overeat, end up putting on a lot of slop as well. On a cut, I'd go at it far too aggressively and end up dropping muscle mass as well as fat. I was so sensitive to other people's words. If I was dieting and someone said, "You look skinny," and what they meant is, from the bodybuilder's perspective, "You're looking very lean," they've used the wrong word. I've heard skinny and I think, oh God, and immediately I'd switch back to a mass gaining cycle. About 5 years ago, I'd got pretty bored of the whole bodybuilding thing. But people started to big me up for having, a bit of a physique, a bit of mass, and doing it on a vegan diet. And I realized, I've probably harmed more animals than most through my dietary choices. I ate so many animal products and I felt I've got a chance here to undo some of the damage, and I need to step up to the plate. Nowadays, I'm so laser focused on getting the goal, not from such a place of ego, but more from a place of, wanting to be a good ambassador for the animals. It helps me to stick much better to the plan. In addition, when I get to those last couple of reps and I'm grinding them out, the lactic acid's building up and it's starting to burn like hell. I say to myself, this is nothing compared to what you made those animals go through. And it just really lights a fire under my ass. I go into like beast mode, and I smash out those last few reps. As a PT, I look at my client and I think, what is their motivation? When it's a vegan client and they're starting to really struggle, I will say, for the animals. On my life, not once has that ever failed. Click this video now for a 2% boost in your metabolism, speeding fat loss.